What if everything you've heard about the Great Pyramid is only part of the story? For over 4,500 years, one question has refused to disappear. How did ancient Egyptians build something that even today leaves engineers speechless? More than 2.3 million massive stone blocks. A structure originally standing nearly 147 meters tall, built with astonishing precision long before cranes, engines, or modern technology ever existed. Some people say it was aliens. Others believe a lost civilization possessed knowledge far beyond its time. But what if the real answer is even more incredible? Because the truth isn't about magic. It's about ordinary people achieving something extraordinary. Tonight, we're going back thousands of years to uncover one of history's greatest engineering mysteries. And by the end of this video, you'll see the Great Pyramid in a completely different way. Before we can understand how it was built, we first need to understand why anyone would even attempt something so impossible. Around 4,500 years ago, Egypt wasn't just another kingdom. It was one of the richest and most organized civilizations on Earth. Every year, the Nile flooded its banks, leaving behind fertile land that produced enormous harvests. Food created wealth. Wealth created stability. And stability gave Egypt something few civilizations had: the ability to plan for decades instead of days. At the center of that world stood one man, Pharaoh Khufu. To his people, he wasn't simply a ruler. He was believed to be the bridge between humanity and the gods. His death wasn't considered the end of life. It was the beginning of eternity. And for eternity, he wanted something the world had never seen before. That dream would become the Great Pyramid of Giza, a monument so ambitious that many people still refuse to believe humans built it alone. But here's the first surprise. The biggest challenge wasn't lifting the stones. It was organizing the people. For generations, the world believed the pyramids were built by slaves, whipped under the burning Egyptian sun. Movies, books, and television repeated that story so often it became accepted as fact. Then archaeology changed everything. Just a few hundred meters from the pyramids, researchers uncovered the remains of an entire workers' village. There were homes, large bakeries, kitchens capable of feeding thousands every day, medical rooms where broken bones had healed, even tombs built to honor the workers after they died. Slaves weren't buried with respect. These people were. Most historians now believe many of the builders were skilled workers and seasonal farmers. When the Nile flooded each year, farming stopped for several months. Instead of waiting for the water to disappear, thousands of farmers joined one of the largest construction projects in human history. They were paid with food, clothing, shelter, and status. Egypt wasn't forcing people to build the impossible. It was organizing an entire civilization around one extraordinary goal. But even with thousands of workers, one impossible question still remained. How do you move millions of stones that weigh more than a modern car across sand that swallows anything heavy? Most of the limestone came from a quarry only a few hundred meters away. But nearby didn't mean easy. Each block weighed between 2 and 3 tons. The granite was even more unbelievable. Some of it traveled nearly 800 kilometers from Aswan before reaching Giza. No trucks, no steel, no engines, not even wheels designed to carry that kind of weight. At first, it sounds impossible, until one ancient drawing changed everything. It showed dozens of workers pulling a massive stone statue on a wooden sled. Standing at the front was a single man pouring water onto the sand. For centuries, nobody knew why. Then modern scientists recreated the scene. The results were astonishing. A thin layer of water made the sand firmer, reducing friction so the sled could glide much more easily. One simple idea saved thousands of hours of work. Suddenly, moving giant stones no longer seemed like magic. It seemed like brilliant engineering. But transporting the blocks across the desert was only half the battle, because once they arrived, every single stone still had to be lifted higher and higher until the pyramid reached toward the sky. And that's where the greatest mystery of all begins. Historians believe the answer was surprisingly simple. Ramps. Not one giant ramp stretching to the top, but a system that evolved as the pyramid grew. Some researchers believe straight ramps were used in the early stages. Others suggest spiral ramps wrapped around the outside. Another theory proposes hidden internal ramps built inside the pyramid itself. The truth is, no one knows exactly which method was used. and that's what keeps the mystery alive. What we do know is that every new layer demanded incredible precision. A tiny mistake near the bottom would become a massive error at the top. Yet the Great Pyramid is aligned almost perfectly with true north. Its base is nearly level, and many of its stone blocks fit together so precisely that even today, sliding a thin blade between them is difficult. Without computers, without laser levels, without modern measuring tools, just careful observation, mathematics, experience, and generations of knowledge passed from one craftsman to another. The more archaeologists discover, the less the pyramids look like an impossible mystery, and the more they look like the greatest engineering achievement of the ancient world. But one question still refuses to disappear. If we understand so much about the Great Pyramid, why are people still convinced aliens built it? The answer is surprisingly human. We often underestimate what ancient civilizations were capable of achieving. When we see something extraordinary, it's tempting to search for an extraordinary explanation. But history tells a different story. The Great Pyramid wasn't built in a single moment of genius. It was the result of decades of planning, thousands of skilled workers, brilliant organization, and relentless determination. Even today, researchers continue to discover hidden chambers and unanswered questions inside the pyramid. Not because the builders were hiding supernatural secrets, but because history still has stories left to tell. Maybe the greatest mystery was never how the pyramids were built. Maybe it's why we find it so difficult to believe that ordinary people could accomplish something this extraordinary. The Great Pyramid doesn't prove the existence of aliens. It proves the power of human ambition. And honestly, that might be even more amazing. If you enjoyed uncovering one of history's greatest mysteries, you're going to love what comes next. Because this is only one question, and there are countless more waiting to be explored. Subscribe to Midnight Questions, and join me as we uncover the stories history still refuses to fully explain. Until the next mystery, keep asking questions.